Okay, so there's one last thing I want to focus on, particularly in the 3D version of this, and that is my ship takes off and there's no exhaust, there's no anything happening under here. Now, I think it's outside of the scope of this class, and it would be a little bit more of a headache to try to simulate something coming out of here, but it is worth recognizing that Maya has a whole slew of tools that are built for simulation of stuff like fire and smoke and things like that. I don't really want to go into that this week. I want to fake it. So we're going to fake it with another mesh. And so let's just go ahead and start making something that kind of looks like a flame, right? So this is going to combine a little bit of everything we've talked about in here. So luckily it's right there where we kind of need it, right? I'm going to try to shape this to look a little bit more like a flame. So I'm going to isolate my selected, go ahead and go to my perspective view and focus in on that. There we go. Isolate selected. And then I'm going to just sort of round this out a little bit. I'm going to grab this vertex here on the bottom. My vertex here on the bottom. And I'm going to hit B. B is soft select. And so that means it's going to allow me to sort of warp the whole thing. If I hold down on B and click, or I'm sorry, middle mouse click, I can sort of create how much of a fall off that soft select affects. And so I'm going to make it a little bit pointier here. Taking that down just a little bit more. Try to make it a little bit more like a flame shape. And I go to edge, double select this. I'm going to make my soft select a little bit bigger. I'm going to scale that down just a little bit. Right here, scale that down a little bit too. So I'm just trying to make something that seems kind of just vaguely flame shaped. Right? And I think we got something looking okay there. Right? So now let's see if we can make it kind of look like a flame a little bit more. Actually, let me do one more thing here before I do that. Go to vertex. Just going to make this end just a touch sharper. Tap B to get out of that. And just kind of, there we go. Also, maybe you want to pull some of these edges down just a little bit because there we go. Just kind of, yeah, more evenly distribute that. So I could work on this all day, but let's pretend this is our flame. Let's go ahead and create a material for this. So in our materials, I'm going to create a new Arnold shader surface, AI standard surface. Created it. I'm going to select it up here and name it Flame Met.
Yep.
And then I'm going to go ahead and assign that to my flame. Assign material. And then I'm also going to graph the network here. So with this network graph, I don't have to really show it here right now, but I can come back to that. If I go to my attribute editor, sometimes it just saves me a little space here. I want to get sort of that feeling of a transition of color. So like maybe blue at the top, orange in the middle, maybe white closer to the end, or maybe it's my blue, white, orange, and then fade into something at the end here. So that's called a gradient. So I'm going to apply to my color map a gradient map, and you'll see it here. It's called a ramp inside of Maya. But this is a ramp is a way of doing any gradation of color from one color to the other. And you'll see immediately I kind of get darker at the bottom, white at the top, and you'll see if I slide this, that darkness comes up. Right? And you can see an example of what's happening here and in our UV editor. If I had that object selected, yeah, you'll see it's sort of ramping up from black to white across the mesh itself. So luckily our UVs worked out in the way that this is set up, because if I switched this from a V ramp to a U ramp, you would see it does it the other way, and that's more of like wraps it around this way. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this as a V ramp. I'm just going to change these colors. So I'm going to make this color, click this first one, and I'm going to make it more like sort of that blue you see at the bottom of a flame when it's really hot. Right? And I'm going to go ahead and make this white, I think. And now I can add additional colors just by clicking anywhere in here. So if I click here, I'm going to make this one more like this, red. Look at it so I can see here. This red. Done. I may move that out a little bit more. And then right here in the middle, I'm going to make this one a little bit more like bright orange. I might take that up a little brighter. So something like that. Actually, I may sort of pull these out a little bit more so I get some more of that blue sticking out down here. Just kind of scrunch all that in. So I have that now, right? That's looking kind of cool. I may play around with it still more, but it's all very perfect. Right? It's very even. So within our ramp map in here, we have the ability to add some V waves, right? Which is going to, you can see from the map here, it's going to add a wave throughout it. So it's not perfect all the way through it. Right? And I also have the ability to add some noise. Right? And so I do something like that. Maybe, yeah, there we go. All right, so I got a little bit of noise in there. I can turn up the noise frequency, but this actually just kind of changes how much that noise is going in there. And you can kind of see that looks a little bit like fire now. It's not exactly, but a little bit. And so we are going to use this for right now. Go back into our our hyper shading here, because if I were to render this now, let's go ahead and look at that normal render view. Hit play. Let's see it. It's gonna have those colors on it. Let's see. Do that. And try to move this out where we can kind of see it. And you'll see why this isn't working exactly. Right? It looks more like a balloon than it looks like a flame. So I'm going to stop that. What I'm going to do is in my hypershade, I'm going to take that ramp and I'm going to map that into my emission color. And then on the material, I'm going to turn the emission all the way up. And so what that's going to do now is it's going to take that same color map that I have, and now it's going to make it glow. Now there's one more thing I would like to do, and this may look wrong at first, but we'll fix it. Is now I'm going to grab that object and I'm going to turn it into, one more thing I want to do on the texture is I'm going to turn off that specular so we don't have a highlight anymore. But with this object selected, I'm going to go to Arnold and lights, and I'm going to choose mesh light. And so when I do that, get some errors here. I'm going to go ahead and stop it for a second, hit play again. So with that mesh light, it kind of disappears when I do that. And I don't want it to. I want to still see the mesh. So I'm going to say show original mesh. There we go. But now this object will act like a light, and I can turn it up. And you'll start to see it casting light. And I'm going to uncheck normalize there. And so now, whenever this object is visible, I could even turn that up higher to say something like, let's try something like 7. There we go. So now we're getting this glow out of there. I could even, if I wanted to, I could even map in that color of the different colors on here. But I think what I want to do instead is just make it a solid orange. So it's kind of casting this orange color underneath it. There we go. And so that kind of looks a little bit like it. I'll probably adjust my ramp a little bit here in a bit. The last problem with this, though, is I can see the end of the fire. Right? I can see where I can see the end of the shape there. And it still feels like a solid object. So I want to do one more thing to the material. and that is I want to add another ramp to the visibility of this object. Okay, so if I select this material down here under geometry, there's opacity. And so I'm going to click the checkerboard on that, and I'm going to create a new ramp. And with this ramp now, let me hit play on this so you can see it. I should be able to start to pull up on this top end of the black and the objects start to disappear. That's not working right now. Let me see if I have this selected correctly. So this is under geometry, opacity.
Yeah.
Let me try hitting stop and refresh. Okay. So it's still not making it invisible. So there's one more thing we need to do. I think this should work. Is if I go to my actual object here and select it, I want it also right here under light P-sphere shape. No, I'm sorry, it's under light P-sphere, under display, and okay, so I want to show you something right here. If we go over to our outliner, our light is still P-sphere 2. We'll call this flame, right? So we have flame, but underneath flame is this light P-sphere 2. So that's where all the light attributes are. But I want to still grab flame, right? And under flame, if I go to flame shape under Arnold, this Arnold dropdown, you should see this button that says opaque. We're going to uncheck that. And that's what allows our material on this flame mat, that's what allows that material to actually have opacity. Right? And so now that I've done that, if I hit render, you'll see that the top of that is a little bit transparent, right? And that's because of our alpha mat here, or our ramp. And you'll see as I lower the ramp on the top of this, it disappears. I just want to make sure that black is on the bottom, white is on the top, and then I can have the bottom of this kind of fade out. So I like something like that. But I can still also have some V noise in here, right? Or some V wave in here, and some noise, and even some noise frequency. Right? So this is how I can kind of get that feeling of like a flame underneath it. It's casting some light. It's glowing, right? Let's try that now. If I put this underneath our ship, just as a little test, I'll hit stop. We'll bring everything back. I will zero out the location of flame to put it back underneath there. Right? And we'll go ahead and wait until the ship is off the ground a little bit there and just raise it up so we can look at what this frame looks like from perspective camera shape 2. And we're getting now kind of like a flame underneath there. And again, we can adjust this opacity across the board. If I want to just make the entire thing less visible, I can do that with this ramp now. I can choose even the widest part of that ramp. I can turn it down and make the entire thing less visible. Right now, I think it's a little too big as well. So there's a couple of things I'm going to play around with here in a few minutes. And we'll keep working on the material of it, but I also want to show you how to make it have a little bit of motion and animation to it. As you guessed, before we do any of that, this flame and light sphere, I want that to always sort of travel with my ship. So I'm going to go and put that back down to 0, zero that out, and then I'm going to middle click on flame and drag that onto ship group, because now that means that wherever the ship goes, the flame will go with it as well. All right.